Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well. And today we've got some news here from Fox News, which is going to trigger a bunch of people because obviously that's the world we live in today. But it is a report that's been talked about on other sites also. That is that Robert Downey Jr. is reportedly, so again, take it with a grain of salt because obviously things can change. He is going to reprise the role of Iron Man in a TV spinoff over on Disney+. Now, this is something that we figured was probably going to happen in some capacity because we all know the direction that Disney wants to take the MCU. They've made it very clear that Phase 4 is going to be the beginning stages of Phase Woke, and they have no problem at all going in that direction. And so it looks like we are indeed finally going to be getting an Ironheart series. For those that know anything about Ironheart, it's a character that came about in 2015 and is a female version of Iron Man, more or less, who was taught under the tutelage of Iron Man. Fun story. When the comics originally sold, I remember this being talked about, actually. I believe it was on Gary Nerdrock's channel. Usually it's going to be on Gary's channel because he is a whiz when it comes to comic books. But that basically Ironheart got her debut in an Iron Man series, and it did pretty well because, of course, it was in the Iron Man series. They decided to use that as a jumping off point for her to get her own series. She got her own series, and it never, even the number one series, even the number one issue, never did as well as even the worst issue in that Iron Man series where she had finally got an introduction because no one really cared about the new character. Now, at the very least, they did create a new character, so I have to give them kudos there. They created a new character. They didn't just say, oh, we're going to take an old character and change their orientation, change their gender, change anything like that. Instead, they said, okay, we're going to make a brand new character. But of course, at the end of the day, you look and see, okay, but obviously we know what you're trying to do there, Disney. You're looking around saying, oh, we need to push more people. We can't create our own original characters that are going to be completely detached from any other characters. So instead of us just making Iron Man into a woman, why don't we just try and make it work in this way? Because basically this is female Iron Man. That's basically what it is. It's Iron Woman. And they obviously don't want everyone to think of it that way. They probably would say, oh, it's offensive to say. But in reality, that's all that they actually are doing in the process. And so let's see. Robert Downey Jr. will reportedly reprise his role of Iron Man for the Disney Plus spinoff. It's claimed that Hollywood star will return to Tony Stark after giving his final performance in Avengers Endgame. But it seems that Disney's new streaming service offers the perfect opportunity to bring him back as the much-loved hero. According to We Got This Covered, so again, take it with a giant grain of salt. I'm very surprised that Fox is actually using them as a source because we all know that place is just terrible when it comes to all of these different things. They're prepping, the bosses over there are prepping for a series based off of Ironheart, the teenage genius who continues Stark's legacy in the comics. It's believed that Robert Downey Jr. will return to voice over a character that will be AI similar to Paul Bettany's Jarvis. And so because they're not going to be able to bring him back in the flesh for now, because as I said from the very beginning, I don't think Robert Downey Jr. is done. I do not see a world in which they let him go completely, as is evidenced by even the rumors that they're going to have him back, at the very least doing some voice work as being an AI person, because obviously they have to have him attached to Ironheart because no one's going to watch the series otherwise, right? The series is not going to do well. If you say, oh, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be attached as an AI, you could even have it where you could have the technology be so advanced that not only is it a voice, but you could even technically bring him back in the digital world and have it be, hey, look at me. Similar to how the end of his life, and at the end of Endgame, at his funeral, he had a video being recorded in the process. You could easily have something similar to that of him even walking around in the flesh, but obviously in digital format. But, as I said, this is to me prepping for what eventually will happen, if not Phase 5, possibly Phase 6, where I honestly do believe they're going to bring him back as Iron Man. Maybe not to play a full-fledged new Iron Man in Iron Man 4, 5, or 6, not to bring him on for a new trilogy, rather, more accurately, but at the very least to bring him back in the capacity that they will still have that name attached to it. Because with Endgame, they've lost Chris Evans, they've lost Robert Downey Jr., they've lost Captain America, they've lost Iron Man, and so they need to replace those characters. And what they're soon going to realize is that you cannot just replace them with any character you want. You can't just replace them with Captain Marvel, for instance. That's what they're going to try and do. I would have my copy that I normally throw after my back, but because I was on a stream with Jeremy just a few minutes ago, it's still on the floor behind me, which is exactly where it deserves to be. But from that, you understand that you cannot just replace those characters with crappy characters that most people just don't care about. Oh, well, it made $1 billion. Yeah, right next to Endgame. Let's see how it does in isolation when it doesn't have any other films to prop it up. It might still make money because it's still got the Disney machine behind it, but if you're going to tell me it's going to be one of the most successful franchises of all time, I'm telling you this right now, go ahead and look to those reviews again because they were mixed. Like the most of the reviews for that movie were mixed, and let's just be honest here, it was a bad movie. From an objective standpoint, it was a bad movie. But of course, I've already shed so many voices on that movie. I've already shed so much of my voice that I can never get back on that movie. And so what do you think about this, though? Do you think that they're going to probably bring him back at some point in the future as the actual Iron Man? Because they seem to be indicating that they're going to go to Secret Wars, which deals a lot with not just time travel elements, which they've brought about in Endgame, but also a multiverse. Do you think that they could try to bring him back? Obviously, they can't bring him, the character in this universe, back to back from the dead, but they could bring in another Tony Stark from another universe, and you could have him be just as smart so that the personality doesn't change, or you could do something that would at least be somewhat interesting until you realize just how stupid everything's gotten, and you could have him be a very different version of the Tony Stark that we know and love. You could actually have it be in a world where Ironheart is the main hero, and that Tony Stark is not Iron Man at all. I mean, God, that's probably, to be honest, that's probably the direction they're going to go. They're going to go to a universe in which, in fact, they probably are going to wipe out the current universe that they have already set up and say, now we can start totally fresh, and we can put in whoever it is we want, and guess who those characters are going to be? That's right, anything that fits their woke agenda. But let me know your thoughts about that. Let me know your thoughts about any of the things that we talked about today. And with the number one question being, do you think that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back for this series on Disney Plus? I'd say it's actually pretty likely, because they want to make Ironheart into a series. That's something they want to do. And so this is one way to do it, because you have to legitimize it in some way. And the only way that you really can is to have, of course, the man himself, Robert Downey Jr., attached to it and have Iron Man present in it, at least in some way. But also, do you think that Robert Downey Jr. could come back to the series in the next, 3 or 4 years with Phase 5 and Phase 6, respectively? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, especially the pinned comment below. If you like this video, smash the like button, give me a subscribe. It helps me out a lot. You are all amazing and beautiful people. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.